Hi, welcome back to my channel. We're on episode 2. So I have this titled Like a Good Book because what we're going to do is actually work a little bit backward. Whenever somebody wants to come up with a build, like their next build for an AR, or they want to buy a pistol with the intent to fix it up, they typically think of the end game first before they start with the beginning. They don't start looking at the tiny pieces and decide how they want to do it from there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from the end back to the beginning and back to the end like a good book. So I brought in John McQuay here. He's the one that's been doing my Cerakote. He gave me rattle can tips, a lot of different camo patterns, and he's brought in some things for us to look at. And we're kind of going to talk about the pros and cons, right? What you're getting for your money. So tell us what you have for these 3 specific rifles, like what is on each.
All right, so this Mosin right here is actually straight rattle can from Walmart. That's your typical camouflaged paint job. Actually, what you got sitting here actually is exactly the same I used. This Krylon paint. Great for an affix, but if you're looking at a gun to be an investment, as I believe you said in episode 1, they're definitely an investment. Mm-hmm. Not what you want to go with, honestly.
Yeah, like a truck gun, or if it's something you're just going to beat up, like a range gun, like I did my AR-9 that's up on the wall. That's something I don't intend to keep rattle can on forever. If I want to upgrade stuff like furniture later, I bought a pretty cheap kit that comes with it to build the AR-9, so I'll probably end up upgrading the furniture, upgrading different parts and pieces, so it'll be mix matched, or I'll just get it repainted. It's really not that hard. You can sandblast. There's plenty of other options. You can hand sand it, really, with a rattle can.
Yeah.
What about the next one? What we got?
The next one was my 458 SOCOM, which was actually done by Brownell's Cerakote version they have. A lot more pricey than your average $2 rattle can you get at Walmart. Mm-hmm. Sits around 30 to 40 bucks depending on what website you're looking at. So does hold up a lot better, however, does not hold up as well as Cerakote. And of course, the last one here is my 300 Blackout pistol, which was done completely in Cerakote itself. And we can discuss the differences, like we were talking earlier today. This one, I don't even shoot it at all, and this was one of my first ever spray jobs ever done. And without it even being shot at all, there is so much damage to the rattle can.
Like, battle worn?
It's super battle worn, and I don't even utilize it. It sits in my safe, and I don't do anything with it.
Which, side note, if you pay to have your gun battle worn, just don't. Just don't do that. Actually go out and use your gun, and then it'll get battle worn.
Now, moving on, kind of going to the 458 SOCOM here. Great paint from Brownells, I'm not going to lie. They're not even sponsoring us.
No. Not yet.
However, so Brownell's ceramic-based paint that they provide you, roughly about the same exact cost you're going to spend on Cerakote, honestly. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you can see it from here, but you can see on my cheek well, for utilizing the gun, it's already worn off and completely black. So the ability to withstand wear and tear is higher than your rattle can, but still not as well as your Cerakote will ever be. Great paint, like I said. Not gonna complain about it because I've gotten plenty of use out of it for what it's worth.
Yeah, and you'll see a lot less. Like the Mosin has a lot more scarring on it, just around the body, around the integral parts of the frame. You'll see a lot more missing paint here. Like you said, it's only like that one area that's really a major concern. Another like equivocal thing that you could find is Duracoat. That comes in rattle cans too. You can get it, but again, same thing. It's not going to be like actual Cerakote out of a air gun. They do everything from, like I talked about last video, doing bluing. You can do touch-up bluing with Duracoat and stuff like that. They have the spray-on bluing, and then they go into the ceramics with like a ton of different colors. So those are 2 places you can look if you really do want to do it yourself. You can't find somebody near you to Cerakote. But really consider your options before and kind of look around. He's going to explain it. It's worth the cost.
So one of the biggest issues I have with their product is once you utilize that spray can, let's say you have half a can left, and you go and you put it away and you want to utilize it a week later. Well, that hardener is already set inside the nozzle. You can no longer use it. So the cost of the spray can of $34 to $40 is wasted if you're not going to utilize the whole can at that exact time.
Yep.
Whereas Cerakote, you can literally pour what you need, mix your hardener in with your catalyst, and only utilize that little bit you need, and still have that shelf life of that Cerakote for an abundance of time. So this was actually done with Cerakote, like I said earlier, 300 blackout here. The OD green, I actually still have half a bottle of OD green after doing this, still utilizing it, still able to spray other guns if need be, and whatnot, and the catalyst as well. So it's a little bit different, and a great thing about Cerakote also, one is if you pan on the gun, you can see there's 0 damage from this weapon system here, other than the black where I left it be from not spraying it. However, one of the best things ever about Cerakote, literally, you have 2 different kinds. You have a C series and H series that are mainly for guns. They have a bunch of other different series of Cerakote that you can purchase. H series, C series cost exactly the same. The only difference is C series is a air dry, air cured, up to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit resistance. So the fact that if you ever get one of your weapon systems 1800 degrees, that's pretty impressive.
You're baking it.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I'll come shake your hand. And then of course the H series, which is an oven baked, which goes up a little bit higher and actually has a higher chemical resistance over the C series. So if I were to take paint stripper right now to this gun and slather all over where I sprayed with the H series, it's actually not coming off at all. It takes a lot to get the H series off the gun, where the C series is a little bit easier to get off. So you don't like it, hey, let's change the color, hey, we can get that off. Whereas the H series is more of a permanent based weapon system.
Yep. The only way I've ever heard somebody getting it off is like sandblasting it, and they're sandblasting for a minute.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
It takes a second to get it off.
So yeah, if you like your gun and you want to actually spend the time and the money and make an investment of it, it seems like a lot. $2 a can, $40 a can, $40 for a bottle of Cerakote. Now, is that what you're going to pay the Cerakote artist to do your gun? Not at all.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So what you're paying for the Cerakote artist is more than just the paint job itself, too. That's what most people don't realize. The Cerakote artist has to completely disassemble the weapon system from scratch. So they have to actually be certified gunsmith as well. So on top of that, then they have to degrease the whole weapon system, sandblast it, multiple different ways, light sanding, however you want to do it. There's different ways to do the Cerakoting, and then spray it. And then if you're like me, and I can't speak for every Cerakote artist out there, but if you're me, I actually re-oil your gun and have it back in pristine condition prior to giving it back to you. So you're going to pay upwards to $300 to $400 depending on the weapon size, how much work the artist has to do to the weapon system prior to spraying. And then for, again, kind of going back a little bit, sorry, kind of going back to the C-Series paint. C-Series is great for long rifles for the simple fact that, depending on your artist, now if your artist has a Kelm setup, he could do the whole long rifle in H-Series. But let's say you decide to get your own spray gun, sit in your garage and do it yourself. You're going to use your wife's oven.
Yep, pretty much.
And it's going to smell the whole house up.
And that's why I don't do Kydex in the house either. It's the same reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the C-Series is great for more of a do-it-yourself kind of concept. And whereas H-Series is more what you're going to pay for from your actual Cerakote artist. Because they're going to have a Kelm in order to bake the paint on, or have a really understanding wife, one or the other.
Right.
So
and what's this turnaround time that you get on average? Like if you were just to get an AR-15, like what's your normal turnaround time if they say, hey, I just want the receivers and the forend painted?
All right, so something more like this, more or less.
Yeah, just pretty much like
So,
the basics. Like you don't have to dig into it. What would you
Right.
expect? Like as a customer, what would they expect as a turnaround?
So honestly, for a turnaround on this 300 blackout here, if you were to do something exactly like it, I could literally have this weapon system done in 2 hours, painted.
Yeah.
Now with the baking part, depending on A-Series or C-Series, the baking part for plastics and polymer is going to be 3 hours long in the oven at 180 degrees. Whereas metal is a little bit faster because you can heat it at a hotter temperature. So the metal goes at 300 degrees for 1 hour. So you're looking at a total, after done, say, let's just give myself a little wiggle room there, 2 hours to paint, and then an additional, 4 hours to bake, unless you have multiple kilns running. You have to take it out, cool the kiln, or heat the kiln up, depending on which one you started with first, to get the temperatures right before you put them in there. So you're looking about less than 6 hours, honestly, at the end of the day for something this simple and easy.
So it's not terrible. It's not, you're not going to pay somebody for 20 hours of time. Like even if you get the air hardening, right, the air drying, he's not charging you for your weapon sitting there. It's not. That's not how that works. Because a lot of people look at the price and they say, "Why am I going to pay $400 for this?" It's the same thing too for like the tattoo artists. Like you don't pay them for the time that your tattoo's healing. You know what I'm saying? You just pay for the time that they actually do the work, and then the atmosphere does the rest. So pros and cons. Let's talk about pros and cons. I just rattle canned a couple magazines for the AR-10 that he had Cerakoted for me. I found out that I had some flat paint already on hand that matched, so obviously didn't want black magazines and a desert tan rifle. So hit it up with a quick rattle can job. So no fancy pattern, no real hardships. The only thing you really have to tape off was the follower. You just don't want to get paint down inside the follower, inside the magazine, all over the spring, because then you have paint chipping off on your rounds and everything. So that's a really easy one to do, and that's something that you can do at home because your magazines are going to get beat up. If you practice them, they're going to get beat up. They're going to get gouges and scratches. So that's one of the worst things to Cerakote. You can, and it does give it extra resistances, but it's not the same as your rifle. The rifle's the thing that costs, anywhere from $600 to $4,000 or $5,000. So you really want to protect that investment. So the magazines, they're going to come and go. You may pay $12 for a magazine. You could sometimes find PMags for like $8 online. That's when they're running like those flash sales and stuff like that. So pros and cons. As far as setup, right? At home setup. If somebody's going to bang out like a multicam, like a OCP, like
Or my 458 here,
yep.
Which I did in an actual multicam pattern here.
Do you think they should rattle can or should they go Cerakote for like a?
So definitely, if you're going to spend that amount of time, so you're looking at a multicam pattern, having about 4 different colors in it.
Right.
So let's just say we rattle canned it. So that's $2 a can, correct?
It was like $2, $3.
$2-3. So that's $10 just for the rattle can. You're probably going to need 2 of each, honestly, at the end of the day, because the downside to rattle can is once it starts to lose the paint and the pressure, you're going to get paint splatter.
Yep.
So then you might have to sand it off a little bit, smooth it out, depending on how well you actually care for the rifle. But you're going to spend a couple hours because you can't just spray right on top. Once you have to let that dry. You have to continue the process properly. So the amount of time and money you spend doing it yourself is honestly not even worth it. At the end of the day, just give it to somebody that's a professional. They can bang it out real quick for you, have it done, return to you in record time, because there's kilns, there's different ways to get the paint to harden faster, and paint dries at different temperatures at different speeds.
Right.
So say you live in Wyoming or anywhere else that's a colder temperature and you want to spray your gun in the winter. Well, it's going to take twice as long to dry. And again, who knows? You might have an understanding wife that'll just spray paint inside the house. I highly doubt that, though.
No, not going to happen.
Yeah, not even at my house, not even. And I do this for a living. So, yeah. So the amount of time you wasted on yourself, where you could have been doing other great things in your life, it's probably not worth it. At the same time, rattle can is not going to protect from rust or anything.
So when would you rattle can instead of Cerakote? Like what job would you be like, yeah, just rattle can it real quick?
Again, I think you hit it best when you talked about your truck gun. Something you can just respray again over and over and over again. And it's something, it's not your number one priority gun. It's just
Right.
a gun just for there. That's something. So this Mosin I got that I have here, right? It was a $99 gun.
It's
when
a
I bought it.
Mosin.
Exactly.
100% a Mosin.
You're not lying. It's a Mosin, and I did some really dumb things to it. Put a scout scope on it. Put the actual synthetic stock on it with a rubber butt plate. The whole 9 yards. It's not a gun that I'm using for as a collector item. It really isn't.
So bonus info for you guys, for the newer shooters, the newer guys getting into guns. The Mosin, you'll find a lot of them just mixed match parts. There'll be like crate guns that somebody said, hey, here's a Mosin barrel and over there was a bolt in that dumpster, so I'll just shove it into this action real quick and we'll make us a gun. So if you find one with matching parts, it's pretty legit. But if you find one without matching parts, you might as well just shove in the Archangel. Just go Google Archangel stock Mosin Nagant. There's a lot of amazing things you can do with the gun, but if you find a mixed match, do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. It's not really historic at that point. So
Correct. You know, the funny thing, the reason I did this to this gun is actually have an historic one.
Yep.
So that's the one I keep on, you know, as historic. This one again is,
So
like
many
you
people
said,
do it. Yeah.
is a little bit of everything. So at this point, it was just more of, it's a $90 gun.
Mhm.
What can I do to it to see how things work and how things act on it? Like putting a scout scope on it, painting it with just rattle can.
Yep.
Originally, the bolt was actually rattle can. As you can see, it's back to silver again.
Yep.
So if you're looking at hunting purposes too, that's a big thing, right? So you rattle can your gun because you're ready to go hunting. You're out there utilizing it. You're utilizing it. Next year you go out hunting. Now it's got this bright silver again and reflecting light, deers, rabbit, whatever you're shooting at these days. You know, they might be able to see that glimmer or that shine. So that's where you don't want to go with a rattle can for sure. So
I'll tell you guys this too, because he's speaking on like the rattle can, like getting that flat or that satin finish. I don't endorse anybody. I don't, and this is just another paint. I picked this up because it was local. You don't have to go with Krylon. That's not a thing. Just find a ultra flat or a satin finish, something that doesn't have any gloss at all, and you can use that. Anything that says wood, plastic, metal, you can use that. I'm not getting endorsed by anybody, so I'm not going to lie to you and say Krylon's the best. So pick up whatever's near you. If you already have paint on hand, you have a friend that has paint, and you really want to rattle can it, right? If you're near somebody that has Cerakote, get it Cerakoted. That's what I tell you. If you value the gun, get it Cerakoted. If it's just a truck gun, do whatever you need to do. If you guys want, put down in the comments. I can run a video of me running a rattle can on a gun, or I can show you guys how to do it. It's really not that hard. I'm going to try to get some footage at some point from him, Cerakote. He's got a lot of jobs coming up. Then again, if you live in like the Cheyenne area, go ahead and hit us up, and we'll try to get you hooked up with a job.
I would recommend, even if it's a truck gun, honestly, I would recommend still Cerakoting.
You've got the tools for it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm going to Cerakote, obviously.
Yeah.
However, but after seeing years of differences, yeah, definitely Cerakote. And a big thing for hunters, and kind of something last minute here. So hunters, especially duck hunters with shotguns, they're always near the water. So the great thing about Cerakote is it's actually rust proof. So this metal now that I have sprayed with Cerakote will not rust. So if I'm out in the water all the time shooting ducks with a shotgun that's Cerakoted, there's a lot less time I have to spend at home cleaning my weapon system. Dry it off, call it a day. That's what it is. And I think I got actually a customer wanting his shotgun done here real soon for that exact reason. So yeah, the Cerakote provides so much more than just a paint job.
Yep.
It's just overall protection of your weapon system.
So that's just another thing for you guys to consider when you're looking at a build, you're looking at a weapon. You don't necessarily have to buy it in the color that you want it to be in the end game, because that's why I said at the beginning, that's why I did this. It's like a good book, right? You visualize the thing that you want it to be. So that's why we're starting here. I want you guys to look at that. The biggest thing that people want is like, I would love this camo pattern, or I want these exact colors. Like, you can do that through Cerakote. You can do it through rattle can.
Actually, speaking of, that was originally a black gun. So now it's, green and
Man,
sage.
you can't even tell.
Green and sage in the pattern of snakeskin, actually. So that's why I really love the ability to have a good artist, because anybody can rattle can.
Yep.
But when you're looking at a good artist, you're looking at the different patterns, the different schemes. You definitely want your Cerakoter to also be able to have a gunsmithing cert, and that's true, because the ability to remove your sights if you don't want them painted or whatnot. Most individuals aren't going to have the tools for that kind of.
I think we said that too,
capability.
like off camera. Was like, it's basically like being a tattoo artist for guns.
It is.
That's really what Cerakoting is.
It is. It really
it's
is.
personalization.
Yep, and it's how you can fade paint. It's how you can do the whole 9 yards. So that's why it's always better if you're going to go with a paint job, just to go ahead and get it professionally done by a pro who does nothing but that.
And we're not trying to smack down on anybody that likes classic bluing or browning and stuff like that, or likes engraving. It's more a matter of preference. It really, like I said in the first video, everything is preference. So keep that in mind.
Well, speaking of, you ever want to talk about old guns, I could bring over the old Ruby.
Yeah,
'Cause that's definitely not a
we'll
gun
show
now.
the historics.
The
Bring out
historics.
the actual Mosins.
Yeah, the
real
actual,
boys.
yeah, exactly. But see, that's a gun that bluing or whatnot would look good on versus Cerakote, and I would never Cerakote a gun
No,
like that.
some things you don't touch; they're sacred. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Sacred.
it's a World War I
Yeah.
pistol, so.
Yep. Oh man! So we're gonna head out of here now. Go ahead, like I said, get down in those comments. Let me know what you'd like to see next. I am taking in those considerations I saw on Facebook. We're going to be covering calibers. We're going to be talking about different kinds of barrels, lengths, materials. I'm going to get into why you would pick a specific caliber for pistols. I am listening. I'm going to make sure I get those in the next video. So go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this with your friends that want to get into guns. They want to learn more, right? All right, you guys take it easy.